Hi, welcome to the Gun Room. It's nice to have a smile about the place, isn't it? Again, we're making rather a habit of it. Let me first of all welcome Mitch. How are you, Mitch?
I am not too bad. Thanks again for having me.
Still smiling. And Jay, who's having a grin as well.
Hello. Hello.
We've got lots to cover. Firstly, let's thank the podcast public for subscribing and the emails and the positive messages. It's really been a buzz this week. Maybe it's on the tail of a really good win. 5 wins in 5. What is it? 9 in 11 now. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, busy night tonight. I warn you, there are some prickly bits in this podcast, so you might get a bit uppity. What do you call it? Salty. Now we've been looking into your internet issues on the Premier League, Premier Inn rather, Jay.
Oh, yeah.
Some guy sent me a message, Mike, 1954. I don't know whether that's his birthday or whether that's the last time he stayed there. But Premier Inn, apparently they do an upgraded service for £5. So put your fingers in at me.
I actually did that.
Did you?
I did buy it, yeah.
And it's still pants.
It was awful. Yeah, awful.
But we'll thank him for that. Thanks, Mike. Right. Let's move on to the match, shall we? We'll do our transfers in 6 words or less later on. Mitch, what did you make of this match?
It was a fun one. It was an important one. These are the games we need to win. Leicester's had a little bit of a down year this year, but they're still a dangerous team. As we've seen in both of our matches this year, we beat them by an aggregate of 4-0 this year. But I think very easily these games could have finished 1-1 or finished in any different scoreline. Leicester has the ability to be very dangerous, and we played really, really well. We had a bit of a scary last 20 minutes, the first half, but other than that, we controlled 70 minutes of this game, and quite dominantly too. Just arrogantly passing the ball around, and it was really, really fun to see.
It is that sort of thing. It's fluency now, isn't it? That one-touch football, Arteta ball, they're starting to call it now. And Jay, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think you can see, can't you, from game to game, the confidence growing just slightly, and and also we're winning games slightly differently. Against Watford, we saw a lot of sort of I would say swashbuckling attacking. It was great to see, but also it left us a little bit open at the back. Whereas I think it was a little bit more pragmatic against Leicester, even though we did play some nice stuff in certain phases. We managed to score a couple of lovely goals, and I think Leicester are just slightly. They're a different animal when Vardy's not playing, aren't they? They carry. Even at the age he is now, he's definitely in the twilight of his career. But Leicester, they don't carry the same attacking threat. It's really only Harvey Barnes who is that danger going forward, isn't it? That you kind of worry about, who can cause you problems. So
he was a real thorn, wasn't he? Thorn in the side.
He was really, really good. They were pretty good. They have a lot of really, really good attacking talent. So it's odd that they are so much different with and without Vardy. Because Kelechi Iheanacho and Preston Daka are both really talented players, especially as strikers. So it's weird to see them a little bit toothless without a player of Vardy's age.
Yeah.
And Harvey Barnes was phenomenal in the match. He's been great all season.
Yeah, he's a superb talent. I just think, yeah, you're right. Iheanacho, he scores from time to time, but Vardy's just a thorn in your side, isn't he? He's just so. He's just a pain in the arse, isn't he? Like he always pops up and he always seems to score against us. So when it was, I think it was a couple of days before the game, wasn't it? It was made apparent that he wasn't going to start. So huge confidence boost for us. And Leicester are a good side, and Brendan Rodgers needs to sort of definitely work on the squad over the summer, doesn't he? Because they're maybe coming towards the end of their cycle, the FA Cup winning cycle. And I know this isn't a Leicester podcast, but you just think without Vardy, even at the age he is now, they are a slightly different animal. So yeah, really, really pleased with the win. And again, we're going into this tough period now, obviously with Liverpool tomorrow, but it's hugely important that we get these wins against these sides.
The first 20 minutes, I thought we were going to absolutely run away with it. I mean, it was such slick football, and Leicester couldn't even get out the traps, could they? They were really on the back foot. Thomas Partey popped up after 11 minutes to put us in front. Mitch, run us by that. It's a rarity, isn't it? It's a collector's item. Mr. Partey.
Yeah, so
scores.
I mean, I love the fact that Thomas Partey has scored 2 goals for Arsenal, and both of them have been off corners and been headers. And so I'm going to continue my campaign to stop letting Thomas Partey shoot from outside the box. Although he did have one in this match that hit the post. He could have had a hat trick. He had a goal stopped by the post and a goal stopped by a hand later in the game. So Thomas Partey, I mean, obviously we'll talk about it later when we go over man of the match, but tremendous performance by him. A really nice header on the corner. Leicester are the worst team in the Premier League on set pieces this season. It's something they really need to figure out, and it's something we are really good at this season. There's the stat that showed on the board during the match that we've conceded 0 goals from corners this season, which is just tremendous. The work that our new set piece coach that we brought in at the beginning of the season, Jover, has done has been tremendous. We've improved so much in that area, and it's just a huge area to improve in. Leicester badly need that kind of help because they are woeful on corners. And right when we got that corner, I said out loud, I'm like, yeah, I think we're gonna score here. And then Partey scored. It's predictable. Leicester's not good at that.
It was a gem of a flighted ball, wasn't it, into the box?
And he was all by himself. Great ball from Martinelli. Great header from Partey. Great opening goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see who you got as man of the match, because there were 2 players that stood out for me, and I did this thing where I watch each one individually, and it was Odegaard and Partey. So it'll be quite interesting to see who you pick. Leicester started to get back on terms in terms of possession, but as you say, they were short in key areas. Were you surprised how much we dropped off at this point, Jay? Because we really had them, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, that Leicester are a strong side still, aren't they? They have got good players, and you're not going to be able to sort of suppress them for 90 minutes. I think defensively, we look much stronger, right? We looked a lot more solid this week, on Sunday than we did against Watford. And I think you've just got to put it down to Leicester. They're still a strong side and still really difficult opponents. But yeah, I never really felt that we were going to concede, though. I don't know about you guys. I never felt that we were under huge amounts of pressure. Okay, we may have surrendered.
Close calls, but we were good.
Again, sorry.
Couple close calls. So nice Ramsdale save, but we were pretty good.
Yeah. And it was, like we said earlier, it was really only Harvey Barnes who was causing us any problems. And obviously that was down Cedric's side. And I'm not saying he had a real shocker, because I don't think he did. He didn't play too badly, but
I think what worries me about Cedric is he just can't scamper back quick enough, and he's sort of positional play is a little bit awry at times. Although I don't want to beat up on him, because you said, it was a fair enough sort of performance from him.
He did okay. Yeah, he's just sometimes, again, he can be a bit careless in possession, can't he? He seems to switch off sometimes when he's just looking to play what looks to be a seemingly quite simple pass. He does seem to switch off, but I'm not going in on him at all, because I thought he did okay on the day. He certainly didn't. He didn't have a shocker. So, and again, I think Arteta said, didn't he? I think in the build up to the game that they really are nursing Tomiyasu back, and they're just trying to make sure that there's no setbacks or another injury to that calf. So, all in all, I thought first half, I was quite happy, to be perfectly honest. And again, we look back to our sort of relatively solid unit defensively back to that sort of, rather than the Watford, like, oh my God, what am I seeing type thing. You know,
what he's managed to do is Arteta has put in place these supporting waves of players, because when I was looking at it again and again, you just saw that the fullbacks were supporting and pushing forward, and so was the midfield. And the new curious sort of position for Xhaka, which is kind of left-sided and a little bit more forward for me. And then you've got the three striking elements, Saka, Lacazette and Martinelli, and it's real punishing football. But the standout for me as well was the Odegaard operates in such a tight space. It's like the size of a dustbin lid. He's surrounded and he kind of just thinks out the way and then runs around and collects the return pass. This has been worked on so well, but it was so clear when you were watching this match that they've been drilled, and this is suddenly starting to come together, this whole thing. Leicester had better options, didn't they, available on the bench, Tielemans and Ndidi. Did Brendan Rodgers have his eye on Europe?
Yeah, I think they played, was it Mendy, central midfield?
Yeah, they played him as the 6, and then they played Shrewsbury Hall as the left 8. And Shrewsbury Hall's been really good. They've been playing.
I've never even heard of him.
3 of Harvey Barnes, Shrewsbury Hall, and I'm blanking on their left back's name. But the 3 of them are all academy graduates, and they've all been really effective for Leicester this season. So they have a strong like midfield group that they're able to rotate. I think it was a little surprising to see, particularly Tielemans, to not be starting, but like obviously James Maddison's going to be in the starting 11, and Shrewsbury Hall's been strong. I think Ndidi is probably the surprising one to not be starting, of like very strong 6 to not be in the 11. I'm not sure if he was injured or if they were looking towards Europe for midweek. I'm not sure.
Maddison was quite ineffective, I felt. We were talking about Maddison coming in for 60 million, was it? And then we bought Odegaard for 30. I think it's plus instalments of 2 10s. So another 20 million, but still cheap. Did you think he was ineffective, Jay?
I like him as a player, Maddison. He struggled a bit this season to sort of get any form, but I think you can apply that to a lot of the Leicester squad. They've had injuries, and the team as a whole have been very inconsistent, getting great results against some of the bigger sides and then slipping up against the not so big sides. So he's just a casualty of that. We definitely ended up, in hindsight, for me, the right decision was made by signing Odegaard instead of Maddison. Not that I ever really thought the Maddison transfer was solid, or any of those transfer rumours were sort of had any sort of foundation, but he's still a good player. I do like Maddison. He's got a little bit of something about him, like he takes risks in certain areas, and he has got that certain amount of quality. But again, he's somebody that massively buzzed off having Vardy in front of him, running off the last man, and it's easier for an attacking midfielder when you've got somebody with Vardy's pace who literally stands on the last man, and all you need to do is sort of ping it over the top or in between the gaps, and he can spin off. When you've got Patson Daka, who's still getting used to the Premier League, or Iheanacho, who tends to drop a little bit deeper, it makes it a little bit more difficult for that number 10. So still a good player for me. I can see, I don't know how long he's going to stay at Leicester for. I don't know. They might cash in on him to try and sort of regenerate this squad, but still a good player. And I thought we did a good job of just keeping him quiet.
Okay,
let's move on to, Mitch, go on, you go.
Oh, no, I was mostly going to just agree with Jay. I obviously, I think Arsenal made a good choice with Odegaard over Maddison. Just the price, the kind of player that he's just developing into is just something else. This is basically becoming the Martin Odegaard show. We can't stop talking about him. James Maddison had some good moments, but I think Leicester's attack as a whole just struggled to get going on Sunday. I think their best attack, or one of their best attacks, came from Shrewsbury Hall kind of coming over to that right half channel and whipping a ball into Harvey Barnes, and then as well as Mark Albritton's cross into Harvey Barnes that Ramsdale had a really nice save for. So I think it was just a little bit more of a struggle for James Maddison to get into the game. still a really talented player, but obviously hindsight 2020, I think as of right now, Arsenal definitely made the right move choosing Odegaard over him.
Jay, we've got to say that Aston's a bit of a visionary, your son, isn't he? Eh? Because we were talking ages ago and you said, oh, he likes Martin Odegaard. He was the one that pointed him out. So big up for him. Okay, the Soyun Chu penalty. It seemed to take forever to get a definitive answer of whether it was handball. For me, it was absolutely clear. His arm just kind of slid up. Tell us about it, Jay, what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, in real time, you couldn't see it at all, could you? Oh, well, I couldn't anyway. But then when you slowed it down, it was pretty clear. And I mean, yeah, it's a penalty, and what a penalty from Lacazette. You know, lovely, dispatched it beautifully, and he didn't seem like somebody who hadn't really scored for a while, did he? You know, he hit it with great confidence, and yeah. You know, like, okay.
I don't know whether you saw it, but they did this thing. They put the goal up there for his last penalties, and it was all down in the left-hand corner, right as you look at it. And I thought, oh, please don't go there, because Kasper Schmeichel is one of these goalkeepers who will do the research.
Oh, yeah.
And it was almost like a psyching out, wasn't it, in the 59th minute? And it took so long. If you're the penalty taker and there's that 3 minutes that's disappeared, what a lot of pressure, more pressure, isn't it, to take?
Yeah, and as well, just to add to what you said about Kasper Schmeichel, you know, in years gone by, Schmeichel has put in some outrageous performances against us, and he's a good keeper, you know, and you're dead right. He would have done his homework on Lacazette on the penalties, and I mean, it was a lovely penalty, and a game over for me. You know, get done and dusted. All we had to do was manage the game out then, didn't we? And
to coin your phrase, he was a bit salty about it, wasn't he? Mitch, tell us about the complaint, if any, that Kasper Schmeichel could have had. It was about the run-up, wasn't it? And there was a break, but not a break, if that makes sense.
There's kind of a bigger stop there from Lacazette. That's totally allowed. He was off his line too. He wasn't really off in a space to have much of something to say, but I mean, that's as good as Kasper Schmeichel is. It's almost never his fault when a goal gets behind him. So I
saw a packet of sour grapes in the goal mouth. I did. I saw it. There they were, near his gloves. Looking through the rules, there's nothing to moan about, because the rules say, and there are plenty of them. I don't know whether you've looked at them, but it's a massive list, that you can feint during the run-up. That is permitted, but feinting once the player has completed the run-up is not permitted. So even Alan Shearer, who hates Arsenal with a passion, hardly has anything good to say, he said it was legitimate and there was no case to answer. There was, for me, it kind of summed up where Leicester are this season. There was a little bit of bitterness afterwards. Schmeichel with the referee, and also Brendan Buck Rogers was up there, wasn't he, having a little bit of a moan as well. But I think that's how the season goes, isn't it? When your chips are down and you're not they shouldn't be down where they are at all.
No, they were a bit unlucky, weren't they? Fofana got injured in pre-season, and he was a huge player for them last year. And I think Johnny Evans has been out the side, hasn't he? Tielemans hasn't quite cracked on as much as maybe they were hoping for. So. Yeah, I mean, I've got to be careful because my delightful wife, who's a Leicester supporter, is sitting right next to me, so can't criticise them too much.
Oh, we're being nice, Stacey. Don't worry. They'll be back. I mean, they had a good season the other season, didn't they? Well, they've 2 seasons, 5th.
Should have been.
So he's not a bad manager.
Should have been 4th. I think their injuries hurt them a lot, but I think this is the season in which Brendan Rodgers has kind of been figured out a little bit as Leicester manager. I don't think it would be a bad idea if the club decided to move on from him at the end of the season. I think Graham Potter would be a really interesting hire for them. I think he's outgrown Brighton. I think we've seen just like how much better that Brighton probably are than like league tables have suggested the last couple seasons, and like what he's been able to do with that team. And I think him going to a team with the attacking talent that Leicester has and a lot more money, I think it would be a really interesting next step for him, rather than like a big jump up than like the Man United job or the Spurs job or something like that, I think would be a really interesting spot for Graham Potter. And I think he could potentially really do some interesting things, and it could be a really, really fun team. I don't really see it with Brendan Rodgers. I think his time's probably coming to an end at Leicester. I think the league has kind of figured him out a little bit. As unlucky as he's been this year, I think it might be smart for Leicester to move on if they make the right manager hire.
It's quite interesting. Adrian Durham was on Squark Sport, and they were talking about Arteta and giving him credit. And he was basically saying, what for? Why would you give him credit against Brendan Rodgers' team when Brendan Rodgers has finished fifth for 2 consecutive seasons and he's had all these injuries? And it was quite funny because he sort of said that Arteta had no injuries, like that was offensive. You know, he was trying to put Arteta down, which he always does, let's be honest. And we got another patch on the podcast where his name pops up. But it's kind of like you can't do anything right with that guy on Squawk Sport.
No. He's always had a problem, hasn't he, with Arsenal?
Is he? Do we know what team he supports?
It's Peterborough, I think.
Well, there you go.
Naturally,
I think his wife's
of course.
I think his wife's Arsenal. I think that's where the problem is.
As you say, Jay, that goal pretty much killed off the game, although Leicester had a really sizable chunk of possession. Their best effort, as we've said, was Harvey Barnes, which produced an excellent save from Ramsdale. He does love a bit of Leicester, doesn't he? Pulls it out the bag. It was someone said it was a bit flamboyant, but you know, it was he was over one side of the goal and had to go over the other side. I thought there was nothing wrong with that. Did you see Brendan Rodgers? He saw it going, raised his arms, it was saved, and then he turned around and just went, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the quality of the save. What most impressed you about that Arsenal performance? Mitch, we'll go with you.
I think we're just really seeing a lot of growth in this team of being able to just grind out these wins. I mean, other than that 20 minutes in the back half of the first half, we're doing a lot better of just kind of putting the foot down and we're going to win this game. And we saw that in the second half, especially after the penalty. Once the game was kind of put away at 2-0, Leicester didn't get a sniff. We passed it around beautifully with these one-touch triangles, and it was just really, really nice to see the progression that we've seen. When we had that kind of like tougher little run in December against Man United and Everton, our biggest issue was scoring goals and then stepping off the brakes a little bit, being a little more passive, sitting back, being on the back foot. And we're doing a lot better at scoring and then staying on that front foot and keeping control of the game, even with a lead. And it's a real step up in the mentality of this team. I think a lot of credit has to go to that midfield. Xhaka, Partey, and Odegaard have been on another level. I think I said it last week, but we've lost 2 games in which Partey and Xhaka have played together this season. And the stability that those two add together, and especially Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard have been on another level since Martin Odegaard since December and Thomas since the new year. Those two have just been controlling everything for Arsenal, and I think it's really, really shown our progression this season. We had that little rough patch in December, and we've really improved from what was holding us down in that rough patch. And I think that's one of the most impressive things from the match. Leicester, despite being in 12th, really good, are a good team with a lot of talent. They can easily do something to you. They beat Liverpool this year. No win is an easy win in the Premier League. So to be able to control possession and control the match, once you have that lead, is paramount if we want to get top 4, and we are showing that we are great at it.
What about you, Jay? What impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch covered it brilliantly there. Just for me, just our ability to manage these games now, manage the wins when we're in a position of winning position where we're able to. We seem to be able to manage the games out much better, and there's an amount of I wouldn't say, what's the word, shithousery about the team as well. You know, you see.
Oh, I love a bit of shithousery.
Yeah, so, you know, like Ben White is slowly developing this not, it's not quite dark arts, but it's the it's just matching up to the opponents, because that's what opposition have been doing to us for years, and that's what we haven't been able to do because we haven't had the characters or the confidence to do it. And we seem to be able, we definitely are developing this side of our game that is massive, is the mental side. It's not just football's not just a technical game, is it? It's being able to deal with the opposition getting in your head, trying to just get that 1 or 2% above, you know, and it needed to get that result, and we're definitely getting that. And don't get me wrong, there's still some massive tests coming up, but it's just encouraging. We're just seeing small elements all coming together now, and you know, the next game against Liverpool is the ultimate test, isn't it? Because they are, you know, as good as anyone in the world. So
it's getting tight up the top as well now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be a feisty old finish.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we'll probably talk about the Liverpool game later, but you know, we've put ourselves in a great position. We're full of confidence, and I mean, it's just so encouraging, isn't it? You know, it's just such a...
I'll tell you what it is for me at the moment is it's just so nice to enjoy a game of football that Arsenal are involved in. And like the Man City game, we came out the wrong end of that. But some of the periods of play that we put in and the effort and the endeavour was absolutely spellbinding. And it warmed you. You thought, hello, you know, we might be onto something here. And gradually, as the results are starting to come in now, and you're seeing these performances from these individuals and the promises there, and I'm starting to buy into it all. I was kind of like, well, I don't know, you know, we'll wait and see, because I think we spoke last year and said, well, it's maybe until the summer we'll see one more season, and after that we'll go from there. But I'm really encouraged by it, and it's so wonderful to actually enjoy what you're watching and these little individual bits of skill that are coming together. Absolutely amazing. Right, let's go to this Ramsdale save again. That has spurred me on to say, if you had the choice, Ramsdale or Pickford, can anyone make a case for either? Would you like to sort of do a bit of 50-50, or is it a biased affair?
So to start for England?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Southgate, I don't think he doesn't really go by form, does he? I think he just goes by his favourites, but I would definitely go for Ramsdale. Not that I've got nothing against Pickford, he's still a good goalkeeper, but for me, Ramsdale every day of the week. Like he's full of confidence, playing in a much better side at the moment than Everton. And yeah, like I said, nothing against Pickford, because I still think he's a good keeper, but you've got to go with Ramsdale, right? He's just, you know, all aspects of his game, both technically, mentally.
I'll give you some stats in a minute that might sort of support the evidence going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Everton they're just not very good at the moment, are they? And he's the goalkeeper, so you know he's going to look worse when all these goals are piling in past him. But yeah, Ramsdale for me.
Well, I think one of the matches. Sorry, Mitch. I saw one of the matches where the ball virtually went under him. He's so low on confidence, and that team is broken. I called him Frank Glumpard, because that's the way it's going down there, isn't it? Really terrible. Mitch.
I think currently, right now, Ramsdale has been a way better goalkeeper this season, and potentially and hopefully we will see him ultimately be a better goalkeeper than Jordan Pickford. But I think for the same reason that there's a good chance Harry Maguire starts over Ben White when it comes to England, despite there being a very real argument that Ben White could be better than him, is that like the Southgate clearly likes the continuity of players, especially established players like Pickford and with Maguire. And they've both been really good for England. And this is no fault of Ben White or Aaron Ramsdale, who haven't really played much for England. But those two have been very good and very, very dependable for England. Now, if you're talking about Manchester United and Everton this season, that's a little bit of a different story. But they're far from bad players. And Ben White and Ramsdale have both been very good, and they at very least deserve spots in the England squad, and hopefully deserve opportunities to prove that they are England's best. Deserve to be in England's best center back pairing, and deserve to be England's number one. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't think we should lose our minds if Southgate isn't choosing those two, because I think he does like the continuity, especially with some more experienced players. Like it's tough if like the World Cup started tomorrow. It'd be tough for Southgate to choose those two players, considering they have like a combined 1 or 2 England caps between them.
It's all about trust as well, isn't it? Southgate has built this squad around trust and faith in his players.
Yeah, doesn't tend to go.
And he trusts those two. And until something's proven otherwise, I think there's a decent amount of England games from this point to the World Cup, and hopefully Ramsdale will definitely be in the England squads from here to the World Cup, including the World Cup, and hopefully Ben White will make it in. I think it would be it would be unfair to him if he wasn't. I think he is without a doubt one of the 4 best center backs 4 best English center backs right now. I think off the top of my head, Maguire, Stones, White, and Tomori, AC Milan, would be 4 I go with, unless I'm just omitting someone. And I think they both should get opportunities within friendlies, kind of get a little bit more of a feel, see how they operate within the squad. But I think right now, if the World Cup started tomorrow, you're starting Maguire and Pickford, unfortunately, for Arsenal fans.
I've got some facts for you. fctables.com. It says Ramsdale 29 matches, 13 clean sheets, conceding goals 102 minutes, completed passes 63. By comparison, Pickford 25 matches, 4 clean sheets, concedes a goal 51 minutes, and completed passes 48. So it really does show that Ramsdale's overall game is right up there. It's interesting what reporter Adam Jones wrote in his column in the Liverpool Echo, that Everton's shot stopper consistently makes that type of save that Ramsdale did against Leicester. He's referring to the James Maddison one. Without batting an eyelid. He faces questions about whether he's still England's number one once more, but this time he can brush them off with ease and confidence. He's still the best this country has to offer. I don't necessarily agree with that, but
I don't either.
Going back to the game, who was your man of the match? We didn't sort that out, did we? Who was your man of the match, Mitch?
Off of the watch, it was Thomas Partey, but the more I thought about it, Odegaard was just as good. And it's like another one of these matches where it's tough to pick a man of the match, which is ideal. It's great. I love not being able to pick a man of the match. It's the best. That means we're playing really well. But Thomas just controlled the game. He got the goal, obviously, had a couple other really good chances. But I think just the engine room and the heartbeat of our team, especially with keeping possession and stuff. And Odegaard was just as good at that in the match. And he is just such a huge influence of the game, even when he's not providing goals and assists. He was Sky Sports' man of the match. I absolutely would not argue with that. And it's really cool to see him finally getting this recognition that he deserves as someone who, as a player that's not getting on the score sheet and not like he was a super influential player in the match despite not getting a goal or an assist as a creative midfielder. And it's really cool to see that influence is being noticed by people who don't watch him every week. And so, I mean, both tremendous performances. Odegaard keeps getting robbed for player of the month. So I need him to keep this up for the rest of the month so that he can finally get what he deserves, because he was the best player in December. He was the best player in January. He was the best player in February, and hopefully he'll finally get it in March. Because he's been Arsenal's
gem, isn't he? He's
been Arsenal's best player for the last 3 months and has not gotten anything for it. as good as Martinelli was for those two and Partey was last month, you got to give something to Martin Odegaard.
Jay, did you find it hard to split the pair? Because they were the standout performers for me.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, Thomas Partey looks like he's really enjoying his football, doesn't he? It looks like he's, when the goal went in, he full of smiles as you'd expect. But the chance that he curled onto the post or the crossbar, the corner of the post and crossbar, there was no backlift, was there? And he just sort of scooped it, curled it round. Lovely effort. And I loved Odegaard's first time pass that round the corner to Saka. You could hear the crowd like just gasping. Really,
he scuffed a shot and he just hit it out wide. And it's like, oh my God, how do you do this every week?
And yeah, I mean, and Mitch covered it brilliantly. For me, it was Odegaard just for that pass, because you just love to see it. He's a genius, and again, he's another one who's enjoying his football. I thought Tierney played really well as well. I thought he was getting up and down quite well, and he was finding some good attacking positions. I know we spoke about that, didn't we, in the last pod, or the one before. And I just thought he played really well as well. But Ramsdale pulled off a great save. But yeah, Odegaard for me, class. And they're going to be probably our two main players, aren't they? Odegaard and Thomas Partey, as the season goes on. Keep them injury free, and we've got a chance.
There's this misconception about Tierney because he hasn't kind of shone as much as he initially did, and it's because of the system. And obviously, Gabby Martinelli does a lot of work on that side, so he's doing more of a defensive thing. But this game, he actually got forward quite a bit, I thought.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is we're not over-reliant on him anymore. There was a point in time in which he was like 80% of our attacks, because it was just pass around, oh, there's Tierney, and then put in across to nobody. And so now we're a more complete team, so Tierney isn't the focal point anymore. And so people are calling his performances bad, when that's not necessarily been the case. I think his role has just shifted a lot. Arteta said before the match about him just not wanting to be predictable with an overlap every match. So we're seeing some underlaps now from Tierney. We're adding a different attacking dimension to his game. Yeah, it's nice to see him cutting inside from Martinelli, and we've seen what he can do when he does kind of get in that little pocket. Mm-hmm. He scored a couple goals with his right foot against like West Brom, and he scored one in the Europa League last year. And so it was a nice performance from Kieran Tierney. I'm excited to see how he progresses in this role. I think he's growing into it a lot more. And then real quick, before we move on from the man of the match discussion, another shout out I want to say was Ben White was fantastic. He had that really, really nice tackle, like last ditch tackle in the 18 when we were only up 1-0. That could have changed the game if he didn't get that, because that was going to be a goal. And then he hit some really, really nice long passes to Saka. Just some beautiful balls to feet. And so he's really improving with that kind of range of passing. And he's already been phenomenal with just his presence on the ball and what he adds to our buildup. But adding those long balls and then a great last-ditch defensive tackle. Great performance from Ben White. He was phenomenal.
I really suffered trying to split them, so I had to do that usual thing, breaking it down and watching the individual elements. And for me, Partey just stole it by a whisker, because I love the Odegaard stuff, but I've done that. So I wanted to have a look at something else. And Partey, his interceptions were good. His passing was sharp, and I love his ability to get forward. And he was a man possessed, wasn't he? He wanted a goal. And as you say, Mitch, he could have scored 3 quite easily.
Yeah.
Partey and Xhaka, 12 games played together this season, 10 wins and 30 goals. We've got some emails coming in, so I'll read it out. It's Robo Bob is back. I think, Bob, if you send us another one, you get a set of steak knives. He says that Xhaka has had his problems, but you have to admit he's crucial to the recent success. Partey and Xhaka have now established a strong-looking partnership. Will Arteta try to keep him in the summer? Double question. And is it his best? Is it the best partnership at Arsenal for years? Jay?
So will he look to keep Xhaka beyond this season?
Yeah.
I think Xhaka will probably still leave, and I think we'll look to improve in that area. They are forming a good partnership, and he's doing well. Xhaka in there, but I still think he's quite a limited player, and I think we can replace what he provides to the team with a bit of a younger and a player with a higher ceiling. And that's not to take anything away from Xhaka. He has been doing okay. But I think that's more to do with Thomas Partey's form than his own form, because Xhaka for me is still Xhaka. Look, he's never going to win me round. He's just done too much in the past.
He struggles on this podcast, doesn't he? Bless him.
He's just done too much in the past. But look, I'm happy with what he's doing at the moment. I don't see him being at the club next season. And that's okay. That's okay. As long as if he can keep putting in the performances that he is at the moment, and stay away from the red cards, not get caught up in any sort of off the ball stuff, maybe not get caught as a last man, or stick to that sort of this new role, the slightly more advanced role. I'm happy with that. But
he looks quite comfortable in that role, doesn't he?
He's a good player.
He's adapting.
He's a good player. But I think we're seeing the very best of him, and I think we can easily improve in there. So I hope we do. If he does stay, then fair enough. But I just can't see it happening. But I mean, look, him and Thomas Partey are playing really well together. So long may it continue.
We've got some really prickly emails coming up. Mitch, do you want to jump in before we go to
Yeah, I think that Thomas and Xhaka has been our best partnership for a while now. Like this isn't new that we've been better when they've played together. That's been the case last season too. Xhaka's been one of Arsenal's most important players for probably a couple of years now, which isn't great to have this much of a reliance on a player that has
two left feet.
Granted, Xhaka's dumbass moments, which I think is trademarked now. I think maybe, I don't know, and I do think we still upgrade in the summer, despite form. He's playing really well. He has been playing really well. It's been a good season for him. I do think we still try to upgrade in the summer, especially with the new role, with the new system. Jacques has done a decent job fitting into that role, but it's still a little bit of a circle peg into a square hole. And so I think we try to move on from him. If Roma comes knocking again and they say a price that we agree with, I think there's a good chance that we do sell. I don't think we're going to be actively shopping him though. I think no matter what, no matter who we bring in for that position, I think that we could be looking at some growing pains, or there could be an adaptation period for Thomas, for the rest of the midfield, maybe at the beginning of next season, just to kind of get the bearings, get the feet, get the chemistry right, because Xhaka and Partey have a really, really good connection and are fitting really well together and have been for a while. So I think it would be great to keep Xhaka. I think he's clearly a leader in the team. I think the club obviously likes him, or else he wouldn't be here. Arteta obviously likes him, or he wouldn't come back immediately into the side after every.
I think for Arteta, he knows what he brings, doesn't he? He brings
absolutely. He brings a lot of
performance.
quality when he isn't doing Granite Xhaka dumbass moments. TM. So, well, I think we still bring someone in. If we can keep him around, maybe I'd be far from against that. I think we do sell him.
If Tielemans became available and we would move for Yuri Tielemans, that is an upgrade for me. And he's somebody that wouldn't really need too much adaptation, because obviously he's Premier League ready. And I think he would be an upgrade Maybe Xhaka brings slightly more stability, I suppose, and experience. But for me, somebody like
I think my biggest issue with Tielemans, because he's a really talented player, but my biggest issue with him is just a little bit of his off the ball stuff is hit or miss for me. I think he can be a little bit of a lazy midfielder at times, especially when it comes to defensive responsibilities, which is kind of what we need. We kind of need someone with a little bit more of a defensive work rate that's a little bit more of a all-rounder, like Xhaka is at that left 8, unless we're ready to move into something more attacking. Like we've seen the Smith Rowe and Odegaard as pairs of 8s before this season. If Partey is adapted well enough as that lone 6 to be able to handle something like that, then I'm all for bringing in someone like Tielemans for that role. So I think it'll be just interesting to see who we target. I'm kind of excited for the transfer window to see, because there's so many different profiles that people have been throwing out when it comes to the striker or the central midfielder position. I'm excited to see what the concrete links lead to, who we're like legit linked to as a striker and who we're legit linked to as a central midfielder when it's actually that time when we're gonna buy them. So it'll be interesting to see this summer.
Jim C has sent us more of a statement than a question. Rodgers and Gerrard illustrate that you can win things in Scotland, but it's an entirely different league in the Premiership. Would anyone go along with that? Would anyone dare while their wife is sat on the sofa?
Well, it's a completely different, isn't it? You know, Premier League and Scottish League, completely different. Rodgers is a good manager. He is. And Gerrard's doing well at Villa, but there's no comparison in leagues for me. Not at all. Not at all. It's so much more difficult in the Premier League, right? What
about this one then? Sarah Lassell says, will Odegaard take the number 10 shirt from ESR as well as the captaincy from Lacazette? Mitch?
The 10 shirt, no. I think he's going to stick with 8. There's no reason to switch anyone's shirts numbers that's not leaving. The captaincy is a very real thing.
I think it's because he's an obvious number 10, isn't he? The way he plays.
Well, he's been playing as an 8, so it's kind of perfect. I'm actually impartial to Odegaard 11. I like that more. Like that image resonates a little nicer than Odegaard 8, but like it's growing on me with seeing it more and more. There's no reason to take away the 10 from Smith Rowe. He's been really good this season.
I think it would damage him as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be harsh to say the least. He's been one of our best players this season.
It took balls, didn't it, for Smith Rowe to take the number 10? It took balls, and he took it.
Absolutely. And he's worn it with a lot of he's worn it really well this season.
Yeah.
And Odegaard has played as an 8 for us. If Odegaard was wearing number 37 right now, then we'd be talking about him potentially changing numbers, but that's not going to happen. The captaincy, however, is a very real thing. He's the person that is being called over to the sidelines every single time the ball goes out, and getting tactical instruction from Mikel Arteta. He is Norway's national team captain. He's clearly become a leader in the team. He's got that demeanor. He's got everything you want out of a captain. Him or Kieran Tierney will be captain next season. I don't doubt it at all. And I'm excited to see who that goes to and how that works. But yeah,
I'll tell you what I noticed was with the coverage, Mitch, was when he was on the pitch or when he was in the tunnel, actually, there he was having little words and patting people on the back. It was very captain-like. And then he got out there and he was kind of, tapping people on the arms. And it was almost like someone had whispered to him, "You're captain next season." But he does that instinctively anyway. So it's great to have a leader like him.
We saw that on loan last season. We saw, I think, my favorite, my performance that I loved Martin Odegaard the moment we signed him on loan last season. But the performance that really nailed that down for me was that 4-4 with West Ham. And there was things released after of just cameras that were just following him, and then there was one that was just following Tierney as well, and you can really see how vocal the two of them were in directing players around and calling for the ball and just doing a lot of things to really lead. And it was a great performance. We went down 4-0 and then came back to draw that match. It was a fantastic performance that showed how far that 2021 team had come from that miserable time in November all the way to that really, really gritty draw with a really good West Ham team. And so we've seen this for a long time with Martin Odegaard, and I mean, his form, he's been our best player since Aubameyang got stripped of the captaincy. Like, I don't know if he's like got that extra bit of motivation or if it just is a coincidence, but I would be far from angry if Martin Odegaard was our captain next season.
Let's have a talk about something a bit spicy. The Odegaard goal. Yaya Toure said, I think from my point of view, he wants to control the ball. And basically he said he heaped some praise on him, but he said, I think he got lucky with it. He just touched it for Saka, who was running behind at the back of the defender. It was a pretty nice goal, nice movement, started in midfield, beautiful, I like it. Paul Scholes also thought there was a degree of luck to that goal as well, and particularly the backheel pass to Saka. Thoughts on that, guys? Rubbish, isn't it? Stinks.
What, the Odegaard backheel against Watford?
Yeah.
That was not lucky at all. He fully meant that.
Well, didn't he do the same thing in the Leicester game? He did the backheel again, didn't he?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the Watford one, I think ultimately, if he didn't mean that, he wouldn't react the way he did. He wouldn't know where the ball had gone, right? So he let the ball. I mean, again, I know we went into this in detail, but I don't know how he did it, but he let it roll across him, and then he managed to judge it perfectly. Went straight into Saka's path, and then he spins off straight away and wants to get involved in the box. And you don't do that if you're not in control. Like, it's very similar. You know, what springs to mind is the Bergkamp goal against Newcastle. You know, there's the odd person that says Bergkamp didn't mean that. Well, you don't react the way he did and brush off Dabby's ass the way he did and roll it into the bottom corner if Bergkamp didn't mean it. You know, you're not aware.
Paul Scholes said, we're not sure if he means it. Odegaard to Saka, but if he does, give him credit. It was a lovely finish. So Paul Scholes is on the bandwagon.
He 100% meant that. Absolutely.
What about this one, guys? This one will wind you up. Robbie Savage, that well-known footballer, what a genius he was, has claimed that he would rather choose Manchester United captain Harry Maguire over Arsenal star Ben White, given their performances this season.
Well,
get your haircut.
Maguire hasn't been very good this season, but you know, Mitch alluded to it. He's been decent in years gone by. You know, he was good at Leicester, but for me, White has been absolutely fantastic this season. Absolute Rolls Royce, and I mean that tackle. Was it in the first half or second half?
Yeah,
where
first half.
He sort of covered with his right foot, and he could have easily got misjudged that and given away a penalty. And he just, it was just fantastic. And he's growing from game to game. And I love as well, you know, there has been the odd occasion against a couple of teams this season, and I think it happened on Sunday, where he's been caught the wrong side of the defender, and he just clips their ankles when they're running past, and the referee doesn't pick up on it, and the counter-attack breaks down. And I love that. I love that stuff off the ball, you know, because that's been, like I said, that's been happening to us for years, and we've wanted that side of this team to grow. So yeah, I love that.
But brilliant. The thing is, as well, Ben White is a baller. He can play a ball. He can play it long. He's got good vision. He's got good touch. Harry Maguire hasn't got all that.
I mean, he's a pretty good. Harry Maguire's a pretty good ball playing center back. I think that's one of his strengths. I think there's plenty of arguments that you can make that Harry Maguire is better than Ben White. However, performances this season is not one of those that you can use. Ben White has been superior to him this season. You can totally make an argument of why Harry Maguire should be starting over Ben White, like I said earlier, but you can't base it off of performance this season. Ben White's been far better. That being said, they have very different roles in their team, and Harry Maguire is not being protected well by Manchester United's midfield as a whole.
I also think that PG has a point here. He says, has there ever been a worse footballer in relation to transfer fee than Maguire? He's so bad, he deflects attention away from the 100 million City paid for Grealish. It's a couple of
two
things.
things
Maguire's
there.
not bad, but that Manchester United team is a shocker at the minute. It's just disjointed from game to game. Mitch.
Kepa is the worst signing in Premier League history. That's not a question. It's hands down Kepa. They spent the same amount for him, and he's not even playing for them. It has to be Kepa. And then also, Grealish has been far from a disaster at Manchester City. Far from it. He is less flashy than he was at Villa, but he's also being asked to do a very, very different role than he was doing at Villa, because he was their entire attack when he was there. Everything ran through Jack Grealish at Aston Villa, and now he's in a team with Riyad Mahrez, with Phil Foden, with Kevin De Bruyne, with Bernardo Silva. His role is as a flat winger. He's receiving the ball and retaining possession. I don't love that role for him, because I think he's way better than that. I think he's able to cut inside, take shots, send nice crosses, and get GA. But his role is that he is a flat winger. He's retaining the ball. He's recycling for their eights. And he's been fantastic at it. He's been really, really good for City. They got exactly what they wanted. Pep Guardiola is using him how he wants, and he's doing a great job at it.
It's too early to judge him as well, isn't it? I'll give him a season.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you can put Jack Grealish in a worst signing ever category at all, because it's been far from an unsuccessful time for him in Manchester City. He's in a team with so much talent now. Of course his role was going to change. He wasn't going to go from the main man at Aston Villa to all of a sudden being the main man at a team that just won the title and has so much talent like Manchester City has. He hasn't even played every match, because that's just how deep they are. Their B team could title for the Premier League. Like, he's been so good at his role. And people just don't recognize that, because they're just looking at, oh, he's not scoring or assisting as much. And it's like, yeah, because that's how he's being asked to do. He's doing very different things than he did when he was playing for a mid-table to relegation side, because he went down to the Championship with Aston Villa. So yeah, I got heated about that. I'm very passionate about Jack Grealish, I guess. But Kepa is the worst signing, and Jack Grealish is good. Those are my takes.
Right, I won't keep you too much longer, lads, but we've got a few bits to crack through. Adrian Durham again from TalkSport. He's basically saying that Arsenal are overachieving. He says that Manchester United had a manager that wasn't working, a caretaker manager and an interim manager. It's a shambles. Arsenal have benefited from that. Spurs have had 4 managers in a year. Arsenal are benefiting from that. Arsenal wouldn't be anywhere near 4th place had West Ham bought 2 players in January. Mitch.
I wholeheartily agree that Arsenal are overachieving this season. I firmly believed that the top 4 was going to be wrapped up by power of lineup alone, by the 3 that are in the top 3 of Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. And then Manchester United's pure talent was going to be good enough to get them to 4th place. I wasn't sold on Ole. Obviously, he didn't last too long into the season. But I thought prior to the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo that they were going to be firmly into that 4th position. They've done it with worse teams, and they improved their team by bringing in Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane. I wholeheartedly believe that they were a lock for 4th place, and Arsenal, while improving, was going to be fighting for 5th or 6th with West Ham and with Spurs. We've been fortunate that Spurs and United have and West Ham have all kind of hit rough patches at certain points in the season, but we've also been really good. We've overperformed. I don't think there's a lot of people that predicted Arsenal to get 4th prior to the season, and especially not after our atrocious start. So if we qualify for the Champions League, that's hands down an overachievement. As badly as he put it, that's true. It is an overachievement if we make the Champions League. No one expected us to
I was
Therefore,
slightly
we're
offended by it, if I'm honest,
over-approving.
though. It does get, you kind of think, oh, just
I don't
leave
love
it
his
alone.
tone in the way he says it, of like, we don't deserve it. That's kind of how he's inferring it. If we make top four, we absolutely deserve it. But we're also overperforming if we make top four. The preseason expectations. I think right now we're performing how we're expected because of like what we've seen throughout an entire season. But given preseason expectations, we are overperforming without a doubt. And if we make top four, it's an overperformance, and not lucky by any means. We deserve it and we earned it. We were the fourth best team, and we have been since December 2020. We've accumulated the fourth most points in the Premier League. We have been the fourth best team in England for a while, and we will continue to be.
Jay, I tend to blame you for this because last podcast you said no one's talking about us. All of a sudden, everyone's bloody having a go, aren't they? What do you make of those comments?
Well, we're clearly benefiting from stability, right? You mentioned your Spurs and Man United have got rid of their managers, and you know we went for a really tough spell last season before Christmas, and last season wasn't the best, but we stuck with Arteta, and we're definitely benefiting from that now. Who's to say if Spurs would have stuck with Nuno? I'm not saying they would have, but you know, they may be better off than where they are now. Nobody knows, you know. Adrian Durham, he's been saying these things for years. You know, he's just one of those shock jocks, isn't he? That I've got nothing really to add to what Mitch said.
He's got two listeners, his nan and his mum, and he has to get on the Arsenal bandwagon to get a few extra listeners, doesn't he?
I just think it's been such a crazy period for Mikel. He's had so many different hurdles to get over, and he's finally at a stage where he's got a settled squad that he's happy with, a squad full of sort of like-minded individuals that are all absolutely putting the effort in. And you can't say that about Man United. You can't say that about Spurs. Both those two clubs have got massive question marks over their managers, and they've got massive question marks over their two-star players in Ronaldo and Kane, and they've got massive question marks over pretty much every area of the team. You know, again, I'll just echo what Mitch said. I think everybody expected Man United to maybe not even be fourth, maybe pushing Chelsea and Liverpool and pushing for the title. But they've imploded, and as we have solidified and really pushed on, they have just gone the other way. And you know, players like Marcus Rashford, and who's, you know, such a huge name for them, not solely for footballing reasons, but he's still such a huge name for United. He's really struggling at the moment. Harry Maguire, obviously we spoke about him earlier, huge price tag. He's really struggling. You know, everybody expected Varane to really push on. He's not really set the world alight. Sancho struggled. Ronaldo's done well, but there's still question marks over him, whether he is really good for United or is he not? And then obviously you go to Spurs, and they've got very similar issues all over the pitch. And they've both changed their managers, whereas we have stuck with Mikel, and he's never seems to have panicked, or, you know, he's stuck to his principles, and he's brought the best out of these players, and he's added his own players this season or in the summer, and they've each and every one of them have contributed, and they're now, you know, maybe Lokonga slightly less so, but the rest of the signings have all just had a huge impact in this team, and they've all worked. And you can't say that about those Spurs or Man United squads. So if we do get in the Champions League, it can't be understated just how much of an achievement that is. You know, because we shouldn't be there. We're a good year or two behind where I think even the most ambitious of Arsenal supporters would have expected us to be. And all, I think all three of us will agree, neither of us expected us definitely not expected us to be in this good a position. Now, the games are going to come thick and fast, and we know they will. But
especially after December.
Especially after December, yeah, oh, absolutely. But also January wasn't the easiest. We didn't play too many league games. However, we still had the disappointment of the League Cup semi-final. We still had the disappointment of the Forest game. And whichever way you look at it, as good a performance as that was against City, we still lost, and we still had those question marks over the mentality of maybe Gabriel getting that red card, or there were still question marks over the team. Whereas we've recovered so well, and the position we're in, we go into the Liverpool game tomorrow, just in such a great position. And I know we said this last week, but if we don't do it, we can all agree that we've improved. And I think the main reason, and one of the main factors, is that we've stuck with Mikel. We haven't. There's been no knee-jerk reactions. And okay, it may be down to Man United not performing, but that's not our fault. We've performed, and we've taken advantage, and we more than deserve to be where we are. And it's got from my point of view, it's got nothing to do with anyone else. It's just we've been consistent. We've managed to beat the Leicesters. We've managed to beat the Watfords, and we've been hugely consistent since, when was it, Mitch? 2020 or whenever it was? We've been the fourth best
Boxing
team.
Day 2020. Smith Rowe's Premier League debut. We are the fourth best team in the Premier League.
And over time, you do get what you deserve, don't you? You do. If you're that consistent, you get what you deserve in the end. And we will. As these games go by, I'm becoming a little bit more confident. I'm not saying we're going to get a result against Liverpool. However, against your Villas and against your Newcastles, I think we look a lot more solid and a lot more able to break those teams down now. So it's going to be a brilliant run-in. It really is. It's going to be superb.
I think we haven't poked you both enough. We haven't made the hairs on the back of your neck stand up through irritation. So we've got Daniel, and he said, "Is everyone bewitched? Tierney simply can't defend. And to be honest, from what I've seen lately, he's not great in attack." What do you make of that? Come on, sir. Pack it in. Nonsensical. I don't know what some people watch.
Tough to answer. It really is.
I can't even. I don't even know anything to say. It's that's just like the kind of thing you say to just try to get a response out of someone when it's just like.
Well, we said his role's changed,
not true. It has a lot, and he's defended well. I don't know what Tierney he's watching where he's like making defensive blunders and like costing us points. That hasn't been Kieran Tierney this season. He's been less of the focal point, like on attack, like I said earlier, but that does not make him a bad attacker. His role has changed. He's still good, and there's nothing to worry about.
Right, a couple of quick bits before we go, chaps, because we're pushing it out. The Chelsea affair, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I haven't got really a lot of time for Chelsea supporters. Everyone I've met is a little bit sort of knuckle dragging and a little bit vague and thick. What do you make of the sanctions against the club? Is it fair that the club is facing, and the supporters in particular, is it fair that they're facing all these hardships and all the rest of it?
Is it
rather than the owner?
I mean, I think there's been a lot spoke about it, and there's a lot more people more qualified than me to give a far better answer than what I'm going to give. The only thing I can say is, and echo a lot of what other people are saying, is that this is a chance to really look at football ownership. Abramovich, all those years ago, back in the early 2000s or whenever it was he took over, or late end of the last century, nobody cared then where the money was coming from. We all remember, well, me and Tom definitely remember what Chelsea were like before Abramovich came in, and they were just a very sort of middle of the road Premier League side.
Nice 3 points, wasn't it, Jay? Every time we faced them, nice 3 points.
And you don't have to search too hard on Google to look at the old Chelsea ground and just what a crap hole it was. And just, I mean, I've got no sympathy for them. The fans, you know, they've been, the way that they've ran the club is everybody knows the kind of levels of the amount of players they have out on loan and just how they snatch all these youngsters from up and down the country. I've got no sympathy for them. I've got 1 or 2 friends that are Chelsea supporters, and they're not bad guys, but ultimately,
I must have met all the crap.
I think we all knew that, you know, they've been bought and paid for. These trophies have been bought and paid for by sort of ill-gotten gains. So investigate them, sanction them. Like, they're just, Chelsea were nothing when I was growing up, you know, and they need to go back to that because they're just, their fan base is atrocious. And I know there are elements of all fan bases that are terrible, but
do you know what, Jay? The one that
special place in hell for Chelsea supporters, special place in hell for them.
The one that did it was they had a minute silence for the Ukraine, and they were chanting Abramovich's name, and apparently they've got the Russian flag in the ground as well. So, and did you hear today they were trying to play behind closed doors? The FA Cup game against Middlesbrough, they subsequently, I don't know whether you know, they've just kind of pushed that away now. They don't want to do that. So I think sanity's taken over, or they just knew that the FA weren't going to go along with it.
I think the biggest thing with this has been just like especially with like the Chelsea fans, just like backing Abramovich out of this, and it's like we really need to have a conversation about sports washing, just like as a whole throughout the sport. Yeah. The ability to just bypass the shitty things that someone is doing because they've given your club, your football club money, and you've been successful under their reign, doesn't excuse war crimes in the same way that Newcastle supporters, like with their new ownership, that's I mean, just as ethically bad. The only reason they're not being sanctioned is because there's not an active war, and it's because the tide isn't turning towards them right now. So there needs to be a real discussion about the way that money, I mean, it's unfortunately just the way that the sport is going. We saw with the Super League a little bit of just like money, cash is king. And unfortunately, owners will be treated like gods if they bring good things. As soon as Arsenal starts turning around, if we reach what Chelsea's success has been over the last 10 years, there's going to be people that are singing Kroenke's name. And like that's just like the reality of sports ownership of like, and it's a tough thing because you want to back your team. Like if you're a Chelsea fan, I understand where they're coming from, where you're like, you want to back your team. You're like, this isn't fair that this is happening to us. We didn't do anything. We're not Russian oligarchs. And he did great things for us. So I still like him. And it's like, yeah, but like, you have to see it from the other perspective. You have to be able to see it from both sides. You have to see it from a Chelsea fan perspective. Like, yeah, this isn't fair. You're not a Russian oligarch. You don't deserve this necessarily. But you also can't be supporting him. You can't be, you have to be, it's a very complicated issue, and it's a larger conversation that needs to be had throughout the entire sport.
Ultimately, Abramovich providing the money for Chelsea to win the Champions League, it shouldn't negate the fact that he's bezies with Putin, you know, should it? That's just the way it is. And again, like you're right, Newcastle owners, especially with what happened over the weekend with those executions, you know, just it's just not the best, to say the least. I've got no sympathy for the Chelsea supporters at all, you know, but I suppose, you know, I don't know about you two, but it wasn't that long ago that I will admit that I wanted Usmanov to come in and you know, and that was, in hindsight, I suppose there's hypocrisy in that, but look, there's a chance, isn't there, for the new owners, whoever that is, whenever that will be for Chelsea, there's a chance now for a reset and a way for future club ownership, and the massive amount of money that come in from these owners to be looked at sort of properly. And will that happen? Probably not.
We've given them far too much time, this Chelsea mob. I'll just say, though, before we get off the subject, isn't it funny how the BBC did a programme on all that dirty cash that he accrued, but when he came in and took over Chelsea, the BBC weren't interested. That's just throw that out there. Right, transfers in 6 words or less. What do you make of the transfer rumour of sorts that Donald Trump is actually interested in taking over Chelsea? 6 words or less, Jay. I put the final nail in the coffin.
Match made in heaven. Oh, no. Match made in hell.
Perfect. Make Chelsea crap again.
Oh, he will as well, won't he? He's just all about Trump. Right, next one up is Eduardo Camavinga to Arsenal. Anyone heard of him, seen him?
He's good.
Oh, I'd be over the moon. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's we're just not going to get away with it again, are we? Because we've managed to prize Odegaard away on the cheap.
There's
he's
no way
a
we sell him.
19-year-old French defensive midfielder. 49.5 million is what they reckon he'll cost currently on transfermarket.com. 6 words or less, Mitch?
Madrid's not going to sell.
Yeah.
He's too good.
Yeah, not going to happen.
It's a shame, though, isn't it? I'm going to...
oh, yeah.
I'll take it.
I wanted him last summer.
Right. Okay. I'll leave you with one thing. Mr. Hoddle, Glenn Hoddle, speaking on Premier League Productions, the Spurs icon said about Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard. Those two looked pretty average when they first arrived at Arsenal for me. They looked okay. They weren't too bad. But now they've got their feet under the table and they're now playing to their very best. The balance between those two players is perfect in midfield for me. It's quite a bit of praise from the Hod. And I think everyone will be virtually out of their chairs if we can do Liverpool. So let's do the Liverpool roundup. Jay, what's your thoughts on the score?
I mean, would you take a draw?
Yeah.
Would you take a draw? I would. I'd take a draw to. I think. Yeah, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, you've nicked that off me. Yeah, that was in my head. 1-1. Mitch.
I don't really have a score prediction, but I think the biggest thing from this match is
you don't really do them, do you?
No, I'm bad at them. I'm too biased. My biggest thing is we need to just show a clear process. Just show a clear, like we had a great performance against Manchester City on New Year's Day, even though we lost. We need to have a similar, even if we lose against or against Liverpool tomorrow, we need to play well. That's got to be the biggest thing, hands down. I think I would still be pleased if we lost and we just had a really good performance. If we lost 2-1 and we played well, I don't think there'd be too much to complain about. I'd love to get a draw or even snatch a win. That would be absolutely ideal. And I'm an optimist, so I'm going to go into tomorrow's game hyped and thinking that we might be able to do that because I'm dumb and they go into every match like that. And so, I mean, it'll be exciting to see. Hopefully we get to see that clear progression, that clear progress, where we keep this run going, keep playing the way we want to play.
Enthusiasm of youth.
Yeah. I haven't
had it drained out of you yet.
I've watched some really shitty Arsenal teams, but it still hasn't beaten me down yet.
You haven't had it drained out of you yet.
It's interesting, just before we go, you said, Jay, about sort of consistency, and it suddenly occurred to me how different it is with the teams now. When Emery was in charge, I used to try and assemble the team, the 11, and I might get 5, might get 4, but this team virtually picks itself. Going into this game, you kind of know the starting 11, don't you?
Yeah,
And that's
I mean,
one of the keys.
like last year, it was like tough to pick the starting 11 because there was different center back pairing, different midfield pairing every single game. Tomorrow, it's going to be Ramsdale, it's going to be Tierney, it's going to be Gabriel, it's going to be Ben White, probably Cedric. I don't think Tomiyasu is going to be back tomorrow. Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard, Saka, Lacazette, and then Martinelli or Smith Rowe. I think Martinelli will probably get it. He's been playing pretty decent on the
So
left
let me
side.
get this straight. You won't predict the score, but you'll predict the team.
Yeah, that's my easy prediction. I got that. I got it.
I think Smith Rowe as well was shown this season coming off the bench. He can be really dangerous, can't he? You know,
yeah, for sure.
He's such a weapon to have off the bench. But you never know. You never know. He might throw a curveball. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I hope we can get a win. I mean, just from a confidence point of view, how great would it be to pick up a victory? You know,
I mean, like the win against Wolves was huge, where it's like, oh, this team's got it. This team like has that. If we beat Liverpool tomorrow, booking top 4, booking it. Like this team showed that it's got it. This team is going for it if they beat Liverpool. I'm getting excited already. We haven't even played the match.
If we could just get a really good goal as well, and we'll wax lyrical about that. Listen, guys,
that'd be great.
We'll be doing the Liverpool game and the Aston Villa game together because we normally meet on a Tuesday, don't we? So everyone out there, we will return. Thanks, lads, for everything again. Brilliant podcast, loads of inner thoughts from your inner sanctums. Stacey, we apologise for talking about your beloved Leicester. We're sorry to rub salt in the wound. Is she not talking now? She's gone off the boil.
Ryan.
Oh, is she? Sobbing into a cushion. Right, guys, I'll see you soon. Take care, look after yourself, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.